For the third consideration, Dr. Farah points us back to philosophy. It's about the user of the drug themselves. She said what's going on here is that you confuse disease with limits to natural ability. A limit to someone's ability is not something to be treated medically. It's something that often is controlled, that you can confront and try to overcome, and in doing so, develop character and knowledge and wisdom. If you see things as a disease instead of working on them, you just take pills and try to hope that they magically go away. What does viewing education and the limits to our knowledge as a disease instead of a limit cause? Well, first of all, it can create dependency on the drugs that we're using. We already talked about the biological dependency that it's caused, but Dr. Vince Surio of Boise State University says that there's something more to it than that. He says that students make a false assumption. The drugs that they're taking aren't smart. In all the studies that have been done, middle school and high schools, there's no shown improvement in academic performance of the students. Studies also look at the students in college and find out that those who use stimulating drugs as an enhancement are actually in the lower quadrants of GPA. So it's not actually giving them much of an advantage. But students still make an assumption that by taking this pill it's going to make them smarter. The problem is, it's not actually helping. When we view pills as enhancing us in this way in education, it can also lead us to see them as that way in other areas of life. If a pill can help here, maybe it can help somewhere else. This explains to some extent the trends that are seen. Studies show that when students use drugs for enhancing purpose, it makes them much more likely to be substance abusers later on in life. Every year that a student goes without taking a drug to enhance their educational ability reduces their chance of being a substance abuser by up to 2%. So what we can see here is that there's an unhealthy dependence upon medication that comes when we see the distinction between disease and natural ability wrongly. What does this do? Well, it prevents our ultimate progress because we don't confront our natural abilities. Going back to Dr. Truth, he points out that drugs do nothing to change the conditions that's derailing us and our development in the first place. You see, these conditions just receive a little bit of attention. Dr. Benson wrote in his letter that you have to remember that most of the time if you're having trouble concentrating, that's likely caused by inadequate sleep, diet and exercise, recreational drug use, alcohol use, stress, depression, or anxiety. When you take Ritalin, you're not changing any of those problems. You're just looking over them. So instead of developing the natural ability to overcome what is wrong, you just keep delaying it into the future, and the effects that it's going to have on you become worse and worse. Stimulants don't give us the freedom to succeed. They cause bondage. The story of Marion Jones, a famous American sprinter, can help to illustrate a little bit of these principles that we're talking about. Let's take a look at a race that was run by Jones in 2006. At the time, Marianne was taking performance-enhancing drugs, and she knew it, but she'd been hiding it from the public for over 6 years. Watch this race that she runs and see how she responds at crossing the finish line. You can stop the video by pressing the green button if you don't want to watch the rest of it once we get to that point.
Campbell and the lady they're introducing right now.
Getting a big ovation. Getting a big ovation is Marion.
New school group of sprinters here in the United States.
Terrific
the women's
lady.
side.
3.5 years to graduate from the University of Miami. Finance major was Williams. Started a scholarship fund for youngsters who can't afford to go to college to help give them some scholarship money.
Veronica Campbell with the season's best so far at $10.99. You know, if you get onto LaurenWilliams.net, you can get yourself a sub 11 tattoo for $4.
It comes off too, we should say.
This time they're out cleanly. Williams got out nicely in lane 4. Campbell's starting to move, and Marion Jones has rocketed ahead of the field. Marion Jones, MJ, is doing it her way. Marion Jones winning in 11.06. She is back in a flash. Don't sleep on Marion Jones. You are looking at a proud champ.
Beating the world champion and the #1 ranked woman in the world this past year is Jones, and this is setting the track world on its ear.
The winner of the Visa Women's 100 meters into a headwind, a slight headwind of 0.5 meters per second.
You turn that wind around by just 2 miles an hour, she's under 11 seconds. The fastest in the world was 10.99 seconds. That is superb time into a slight headwind.
Did you think that Marion's response was strange? She just won a big race, come close to the world record, and beat her greatest competitors in a big comeback in her push to make the Olympics. Yet there wasn't any joy on her face. This isn't just a matter of her personality. Look back at this picture from the year 2000 when Marion ran in the Athens Games. At that point she was taking performance-enhancing drugs, but she didn't know it because her coach wasn't telling her. You can see that there's a big difference in how she reacts to winning the race. The sad thing is that Marion Jones held out for 7 years before she finally admitted to using these performance-enhancing drugs. Not only did she lose the gratification, as you can see from the difference in the two pictures, but she also had to forfeit all the Olympic medals and other competitive events that she won in that period. Edwin Moses, a gold medalist sprinter, looked back and said at this sad situation. He said it was especially sad because he didn't think that Marion needed to be taking these drugs. What she really needed was a coach or a mentor, someone who could be calm and kind and take the time to work with her. He said that her natural ability and talent was unlike nothing that has been seen for many years. Ron Rappaport, who's a sports writer and covered Marion at the time of her Olympic success, said that Marion was well on her way to becoming the greatest track and field athlete, man or woman, who had ever lived. She was able to compete in so many different events at such a high level. But we'll never be able to know what she was actually able to accomplish. Marion herself talked in an interview with ESPN's 30 for 30 about how she wonders what she was able to do and what was the contributions of the drug. Not only did she lose her satisfaction, but she has to continually doubt the achievement that she actually made. Was it authentic or was it not? So what can we see from looking at this assessment? Well, I think we see that stimulants aren't really performance-enhancing drugs, but really have the potential to be performance-inhibiting drugs. The stimulants that we take don't give us freedom to succeed. Instead, not only are they illegal, but they bring bondage and dependence by upsetting the delicate tuning of the human brain and undermining the value of dignity and hard work, and by causing harm to those around us and the value of their education as well. We can see that using drugs as enhancement doesn't help our learning, our grades, or in the end our mental health and attitude and well-being. I think William Leith got it right. He said, "I'll put it to you this way. If I had to take a competitive exam and I had a choice, I would want the other guy to be on Ritalin. If you want to keep your mind sharp, here's the best thing to do. The good old-fashioned way. Have 3 good nights of sleep in a row, followed by a brisk walk. Then take the exam. Now that would give you a really unfair advantage."